A New Jersey landlord is refusing to accept rental assistance because they are renting out an illegal unit. I'm Tony, and this is Real Estate Investing and Landlord News. All right, so I have quite the interesting article for you today, and it goes into the New Jersey rental assistance program and the eviction moratorium and much more. But before I get into that article, go ahead, hit that like and subscribe button, and I'll work to keep bringing you great articles about the eviction moratorium and more news that has, less to do with the eviction moratorium and more to do with real estate investing and things that are of interest to landlords. But anyway, this article comes to us from NorthJersey.com, and it says, landlord refused to accept tenants' rental assistance for illegal unit. New Jersey says they must. So yeah, this is not my typical story because it's more sympathetic for the tenant, right? And it goes less into the landlord. And the reason I'm going to bring this article up is because a lot of landlords are out there and they're taking these shortcuts, right? They're not doing things right. And when you take these shortcuts, this can be the ultimate consequence, and it can screw over the landlord themselves as well as the tenant. And I don't want to see that happen. I want everyone out there to be making money, doing good with their, real estate, and just everyone be happy. I want the tenants to stay in the property. I don't want them to get evicted. I just want to get paid. And I want to make sure all the other landlords out there are getting paid as well. And, for once, I have to side with the tenants. So let's get into the article and see what it says. Joseph Matos, a chef in Branchburg restaurant, thought he had found a way to prevent becoming homeless again. That changed within a matter of minutes. The math was tough, but for most of last year, Matos, 49, was able to pay his $1,050 monthly rent for a Somerset County apartment, even after the restaurant where he worked shut down when the COVID pandemic struck. He turned over his enhanced unemployment benefits and blew through his savings to cover the rent. And that's good, I'm glad to hear that, he received the enhanced unemployment benefits and he was just paying them straight to the landlord, things, as long as he possibly could. He went through his savings. He didn't just immediately stop paying. Now he's doing what a tenant should do in most situations, and I don't believe this guy was trying to abuse the system or get over on this landlord. But when winter hit and federal unemployment benefits were delayed, Matos couldn't pay his landlord the full rent since he received only $80 a week in jobless benefits those months. When a $300 federal boost came through, he gave his landlord $125 a week, leaving himself $255 a week for living expenses. Then Matos said the biggest blessing in the world was delivered to his inbox on June 1st. The state selected his application from a competitive lottery to receive rental assistance. He could pay back the months he missed, totaling $6,350. The Department of Community Affairs just needed some information from his landlord. So yeah, this guy seems to be doing everything right, okay? He applied for the rental assistance, he fortunately got it. He was signing over every penny he could to make sure that he still had a place to live and he didn't get evicted. And, that's all that most of us landlords want. We will work with the tenants, okay? We will work with them. The problem is when we have these scammers and they are trying to just abuse us and they are trying to take advantage of our good nature in order to just get something for free. And that's what I don't like. Okay, that's why I keep bringing all these articles up, because I've seen too many cases where, that's happening. Now, the eviction moratorium, obviously it's been extended till the end of July. It might get extended longer than that, but, it's lasted for over a year. And it's almost impossible for a landlord to hang on, especially a small landlord, for this long without getting any sort of rental assistance. So, at least in this guy's case, he had applied for it. He was doing everything right, and the rental assistance should be available to the landlord. Yet, instead of the relief he expected to see on his landlord's face when he broke the news, he detected anger in her voice. Like, "How dare you apply?" Matos said. She told him he couldn't participate. That's when she first told me, "I can't do it. The apartment is not zoned. It's an illegal apartment. The town can come after me," Matos said. Yeah, so here's something that a lot of people don't understand, okay? there are a lot of under the table kind of dealings going on sometimes in the landlord business. Okay, there's people renting out illegal units. There's rental agreements going out without leases. There's all sorts of stuff that's kind of in the gray area, and excuse me. And people they do what they can for as long as possible, just trying to get by, and they don't want to get caught by the city because there's a lot of things that are required when, like, for example, here in Omaha, you have to register your rentals. So I know a lot of landlords who just don't register theirs. Some places they require you to pay taxes on rental income. That was an issue when I lived in Phoenix, Arizona, or not lived in, but I own my property in Phoenix, Arizona, because you have to pay the taxes on it. So if you go under the table, though, you don't have to register your rental. You don't have to pay those taxes. You just get to collect the money. So some landlords, they were kind of trying to, go under the table so they can get away with not having to do those things. And I don't agree with it. I do believe that we should follow the laws for whatever jurisdiction we're in. If we choose to do business there, then you should follow the laws there, because issues like this could eventually come up. Tenant lawyers say they are seeing an increase in eviction cases involving illegal apartments. The reasons are unclear, experts say. It could be that small landlords, who are more likely to run them, are feeling the strain of not receiving rent payments during the pandemic and filing eviction cases. Tenants such as Matos don't realize their predicament until trying to claim assistance. And some tenants may be demanding better living conditions for the first time by withholding rent and ending up in a landlord-tenant court. There's also been so much news about evictions, and people are starting to think, oh, maybe I do have a right to an apartment that isn't flooded with sewage, said Amy Albert, an attorney with the Jersey City-based Waterfront Project. And I think that's going a little bit extreme, okay? It's not like most landlords are out there throwing people in, crappy apartments. But I will say that one of the things that I have personally seen is they will some landlords will put an apartment into a basement that doesn't have the egress windows, for example, right? And, aside from that, it's 100% livable, perfect, apartment, and maybe the area is only zoned for single family residential too. So yeah, if you're putting a tenant in that unit, it's not that it's a bad unit, it's just that it might not be zoned correctly for what the city says that area can have in it, and therefore it is an illegal unit. So yeah, I mean, it kind of sucks, but at the same time you just have to realize that, hey, you should be following the rules, and just following what your city says is the zoning laws, because you can end up in a really bad situation. And I'm going to tell you exactly how bad of a situation this landlord could be in for running the illegal unit, because it says it right here in this article, right? So let's see what it says here. It says, if a New Jerseyan lives in an apartment not zoned to be a rental unit and the town finds out, under the state law, they are entitled to a lump sum payment equal to 6 months of rent to cover relocation expenses, to be paid 5 days after a court orders them out. These funds can't be reduced by any rent a landlord claims the tenant owes, according to a 2004 New Jersey Supreme Court decision. If the landlord doesn't make the payment, 18% interest accrues and is due to the tenant as well. If the landlord fails to pay within 30 days after a tenant leaves the home, a lien is placed on the property. Towns may also set up their own ordinances, pay tenants directly from a municipal fund, and collect the money from the landlord. But that is not common. So yeah, those are the consequences for trying to play around in the gray area and rent out an illegal unit. This is exactly why landlords need to know the law in the state and the municipality where they're doing business, okay? And, it isn't any sort of joke. And so now this landlord is refusing to accept this rental assistance and screwing this tenant over, and the tenant might end up losing their place to live anyway because it's an illegal unit. So yeah, I mean, this is an awful situation. I absolutely hate reading stuff like this because, you know, landlords cutting corners, tenant put in a bad situation, and everything would have been right if they had just followed the rules. Okay, so there is a thing in here, and it says that landlords must accept rental aid. Although Matos' landlord told him she feared repercussions for not having the correct zoning, the Department of Community Affairs does not verify zoning requirements when distributing the hundreds of millions of dollars in rental aid available through the federal stimulus bill. So if Matos took the rent relief, his landlord would not be cited for renting out a unit not in compliance, said Department spokesperson Lisa Ryan. Yeah, that might be true, but the problem is the article itself. So the article itself has basically put Matos' landlord on blast. I'm sorry to tell you this, but you're screwed, okay? You better have that money so that you can pay this guy so that he can relocate, because basically your information is out there, and they'll be able to figure out who it is pretty quickly just based on this article alone. So yeah, bad situation. Landlords, do your due diligence in terms of knowing your local regulations. Don't cut corners and try to throw a tenant in an illegal unit, because something like this could happen. And maybe it won't be this extreme, but I do know for a fact that, every state has regulations that prevent tenants just from being put wherever. And, this isn't right that they did the tenant like this. And so, yeah, this tenant could end up losing their home anyway. The landlord, shame on you for making us all look like crap. But yeah, don't do this if you're anywhere, and you're trying to run a legitimate business as a landlord.